So on July 7th, we sent the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Minister of Health and Wellness, Kevin Bernard, a Freedom of Information Act request. We asked for any and all documents, reports, lists, spreadsheets, or correspondence, whether in physical or electronic form, which detailed the following. 1. The names of all COVID-19 vaccines purchased by the ministry or any agency acting on its behalf during the fiscal year 2020, 2021, and 2022. 2. The number of doses purchased for each vaccine type. 3. The source or supplier where applicable from which these vaccines were acquired. And 4. Any and all memoranda, agreements, contracts, procurement summaries, or inventory reports. According to the law, the ministry has 2 weeks to respond, which will be on July 21. On July 16, we caught up with Minister Bernard and we asked him for an update. This is what he said.
I did receive a letter, correspondence from one Hipólito Novello requesting a report from the COVID-19 procurement process. We are in the process of getting and gathering that information. We had to, of course, go through the necessary procedures to the Attorney General's ministry, and they will hear from us pretty soon.
In the FOIA letter, we also reminded the ministry that if the request is unclear or burdensome in any way, the ministry is required under Section 12.4 to help in refining or redirecting the request appropriately. Everything seems straightforward, and as you heard the minister, they are in the process of compiling that information. On July 22nd, a day after the deadline, I received a communication from the ministry acknowledging the FOIA request. It says basically that the ministry needs 3 more weeks to gather that information. So under the law, they can ask for an extension to gather the information requested in the FOIA. So fine, they asked for 3 more weeks to gather that information. So on August 11th, the ministry sent another communication, and honestly, I was flabbergasted by their response and the documents shared. So first off, it said that no vaccines were purchased for the fiscal year 2020, and as such, there is no document related to that request for that period. Fine. But in response to the FOIA request, the ministry shared 2 reports for the period 2021 and for the period 2022 to 2023, which they say contain the requested information. Now, this is where I started to realize something because the ministry shared 2 old reports that had already been prepared long ago and shared. These were the Annual Technical Report 2021 and the Family Community Health Annual Report 2022. I reviewed those reports line by line, page by page, and they do not satisfy the FOIA request as the minister had asserted in his letter. So in my response to them, I said as much. Those old reports do not fully satisfy the scope of the original FOIA request. And remember, the ministry had asked an additional 3 weeks to gather that information. So why is it that they sent 2 old reports thinking that it would satisfy the FOIA request? I may have an idea as to why. But the 2021 report does confirm the purchase of over 100,000 AstraZeneca doses via the PAHO COVAX program. It does not detail the cost of the purchase. The report does not detail other vaccine types or suppliers or sources. It mentions, though, access to grant funds in support of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign. It does not clarify the type of vaccines. No documents were provided that include contracts, memoranda, or inventory records as requested. So I did some research online and I shared this with the ministry. I told them that a document from the Inter-American Development Bank speaks of a $2.8 million US for the payments due by Belize concerning the purchase of vaccines to the Gavi Alliance. I also told them that according to the World Bank, Belize COVID-19 Response Project, which was approved in February 2022 for the acquisition and deployment of COVID-19 vaccines. So respectfully, we requested that information again. However, on August 18, the ministry responded by saying that the request had already been fulfilled. But we strongly disagreed it was not, as I just pointed out. But not only that, the ministry treated my response as a new request, which was not. So we caught up with Minister Bernard again on August 27, and this is what he told us.
We are putting together, way from 2020 information that we are gathering. Now we have to bear in mind that some vaccines that we got in country were also donated. Thousands of vaccines, hundreds of thousands of vaccines were donated by India, by Mexico, by other countries. And of course, some the ministry had to procure and pay through the World Bank and the funding that was arranged through the COVID-19 project. And so I can assure Mr. Ippolito that as we had written in his response letter, that we are working and putting together all necessary details, and as soon as we have that completed, we're going to ensure that it is made available. We have to ensure that we're making sure we're giving the right information and accurate information, and so it needs some time. We need some time for the team to be there to ensure that they go through all the necessary documentation and be able to provide that information. So there's no such anything that we're hiding or protecting any individual or individuals who may have been involved in the procurement of those necessary vaccines at the time.
So in August 28th, a day after that interview, a day after I told Minister Bernard that the article will be published, and almost 2 months since I made the initial FOIA request, the ministry sent another correspondence. The ministry sent a copy of this supply agreement with the Slovak Republic. Some parts are completely redacted, and this was a donation, not a purchase. We covered this in the news when it was donated. It also sent this August 2021 memo, 138,000 doses for $2.2 million. The ministry sent a copy of the COVAX unaudited management account for 238,000 doses at a cost of $2.1 million. And it sent this invoice, $600,000 paid for G42 Medications Trading LLC, a company in Abu Dhabi, for 10,000 doses of vaccines. We were familiar with the other arrangements, but this one with the LLC company in Abu Dhabi, we were not fully aware of this transaction. So, with everything I've said and going back to the original FOIA request, do you believe that the ministry was fully transparent, that it fully satisfied the FOIA request? Or do you believe that there are things that we still do not know?